Okay, it's that time of the week for another episode of Dallas Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram columnist Mac Engel, and I am in Fort Worth, Texas. The gentleman on the other side of the screen is not in Texas. He's in a place where the high temperature is 65 degrees. Quite frankly, I hope he's miserable. You don't need to tell him I said that. He is Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Clarence, why don't we just get this out of the way now and tell me what the weather is like in Ventura, California.
Oh, it's just a balmy 73 degrees. 73 degrees.
That's a little cold out there. Are you chilly? Are you bundled up there, champ?
You know, sadly, I have to wear a pullover every day because it gets chilly at night. You know, I was at dinner last night and I had to go to my car and get a jacket. It was so cold.
Yeah. I had to get a jacket too the other day. The only difference was I had spilled something on the floor and I needed something to mop it up. I think the earliest I'll be wearing a jacket, I have like 10 of them in my closet back there. I'm hoping that that I wear them by, you think mid-October, Clarence? Do you think I'll wear a jacket down here by mid-October?
Yeah, by Halloween, we'll wear jackets.
I remember Halloween one time. You probably can relate to this. Thinking about my daughter. I love Halloween. We both love Halloween. It was so hot. It was just one of those random Halloweens. It was so hot. We were sweating because we got the costumes on and stuff like that. And we were just pooling sweat everywhere. I'm like, yeah, this doesn't really feel like Halloween. This feels like more like the middle of August. But we don't need to talk more about the greatness that is Texas weather because it is August, and that means the Cowboys are less than 2 weeks away from their first fake game of the season when they played the Denver Broncos in Denver. It will be their first exhibition game of the year in 2022, and they will be without the services of wide receiver James Washington, the free agent signee who came to the Cowboys as, I guess, the veteran addition to the receiving corps after the departure and trade of Amari Cooper to the Browns, is now gone for, did I read this right, Clarence, in your fine work? Is he going to be out 2 months?
Well, at least 10 games. Yes, it's up to 10 games. Yes. I mean, 10 weeks, excuse me. So, yeah, you won't see it back until this October that we're talking about.
Yeah, when we'll need a jacket. Okay. What happened? So you were at practice yesterday. I followed it on your Twitter account. Clarence, can you describe to us what exactly happened on that injury? And could you even tell?
Yeah, it was basically just he was going up against the first day of pads, but it could have happened before pads because it was just a wide receiver drill, 7-on-7. He was running down the field against Trevon Diggs, and they both went up for a ball, and they came down, and Trevon Diggs basically stepped on his foot.
Is that what did it? Was it the step on the foot, or was it the way he landed?
Well, both probably at the same time. Okay. But Diggs was part of that collision there, and he didn't get up. He was carted off, tried to walk, was carted off, and they feared the worst from the beginning. They did the MRI and came back. He fractured the fifth metatarsal in that right foot. Stephen Jones said it could be up to 10 weeks. Remember, DeMarcus Lawrence had a similar injury last year and missed 10 weeks.
Yeah. So, Clarence, the Cowboys' strength of the team last season was Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb,
and
Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup. Okay, well, Gallup's now out the first month?
Gallup's out, possibly the first month. Certainly he won't be ready for the first game. Remember, he tore his ACL in January. And so, it's the ACL is a tricky thing, and, it takes you a while to come back. So, the Cowboys get rid of CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper. They let Cedric Wilson, who was a damn good receiver last year when Mike Gallup was out, go to Miami free agency, and they elevated CeeDee Lamb to number 1. Right now, this receiving core outside of CeeDee Lamb features Jalen Tolbert, Simi Fehoko, Noah Brown, Kevontae Turpin, and TJ Vasher. They have a combined 39 catches. They're all Noah Brown's catches as the 5th and 6th receiver for the last 4 years. Tolbert, a rookie out of South Alabama, has no catches. Simi Fehoko, in his second year, former draft pick out of Stanford, has no career catches. Obviously, Kevontae Turpin, our TCU guy, has no catches. TJ Vasher out of Texas Tech has no catches. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, but let's look at the bright side. The Dallas Cowboys now have the last two USFL MVPs on their roster, Herschel Walker and Kevontae Turpin, so that'll sell tickets. This is a disaster and totally on brand with the Dallas Cowboys, who arrogantly just think they can put any name on a star and it'll be any good. Not that the star's been worth a damn the last 25 years. They're good receivers out there on the free agent market. Cole Beasley's out there. Odell Beckham is out there. A couple other guys. T.Y. Hilton, formerly of the Colts, is out there. Given the way the Cowboys have operated really since February 1, I don't get the impression they're going to go after any of these guys. Do you?
Oh, I think they're going to wait till final cuts. I mean, Odell Beckham was injured. He got hurt in the Super Bowl. He's not ready. He got hurt after Michael Gallup. He tore his ACL. Cole Beasley is a slot receiver. They don't need a slot receiver. And so they're looking for more of an outside guy. I think they're going to wait till after final cuts. I think they're going to wait this thing out and see what happens, and also let the young guys, get some reps. But, there's a chance they can add the position, but it won't be before final cuts, probably.
Is there any way, you mentioned the slot receiver thing. I'm assuming you think Tony Pollard is the slot receiver.
Yes, Tony Pollard is going to be a slot receiver. They're going to use Tony Pollard, as a slot receiver, third down back, all of that. But he's going to be your number one option right now, a slot receiver.
If Cole Beasley didn't have the attitude that he did against or about the COVID vaccine, do you think he would be an option?
I don't think they want slot receivers. I mean, I think that, in replacing what they had in James Washington, they're looking for more of an outside guy.
So if Odell Beckham, and like you said, the ACL thing is tricky, and he hurt his in February, whereas Gallup hurt his in early March or earlier-ish January. Do you think there's any chance that if Beckham was okay, do you think they might give him a look? I don't.
Well, it depends on the money, and if Beckham wasn't hurt, he probably would demand a little more money on the free agent market. The Cowboys clearly are not spending a lot of money for free agents. They're going
to go cheap.
They've made that clear. So just like Jerry talked about, signing potential pass rushers in the offseason. They would have loved to bring your boy home. They just weren't going to pay to bring him home.
So that being said, you mentioned pass rushers, which leads us into the next topic du jour. The Cowboys have one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, who happens not to be a down lineman, but rather an outside linebacker, more in the mold of Lawrence Taylor, Micah Parsons. He's entering his second season after a rookie year where you could have made a good argument that he was the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't win it. I think you could, like I said, make an argument that he deserved it, especially how that defense played in the regular season. Clarence, he was as good as any defensive player we've seen around here, maybe even better than DeMarcus Ware's best years. Where does he get better? I mean, is this a chance where he gets better, but his numbers maybe aren't as good as they were as his rookie year?
I mean, I think his numbers can be better than what they were his rookie year. He had 13 sacks. He wants 20. Yeah, I mean, again, he is just a whirlwind. He is all over the place. He's a kid, but he told me yesterday, because I saw him running down Tony Pollard on the sideline. I said, "You think you'll catch it?" Because Tony Pollard broke out and he ran him down. And I said, "You think you would have caught him?" He said, "I'm the fastest guy on the team." He's the linebacker.
Is he the fastest guy on the team?
Yeah. Fastest guy on the team is the linebacker.
As a linebacker. That means he's outrunning Trayvon Diggs. That means he's outrunning.
Let me see. That was before Turpin showed up.
Turpin, we all saw.
Turpin said he ran a 4.29. He told me he ran a 4.29.
Kevontae Turpin was pretty fast at TCU. And when Kevontae Turpin was doing his thing in the USFL this last spring, he was the closest thing that I thought the Cowboys could find to a Tyreek Hill. I don't know if he's the receiver that Hill is. As a returner at TCU, he was electric. I mean, he was so good to watch. And hopefully for his sake, he's matured. And he's beyond some of the off-the-field problems that ultimately derailed his career and time here in Fort Worth. But that being said,
155 pounds. His legs are smaller than mine.
Yeah, he was never the biggest guy in the world.
I mean, it just surprised me. I've seen him on TV. He's 5'7", 155. He said, "I've always been small. It's not a big deal."
Yeah, I mean, that 5'7" one might be generous too. I thought he was more of a 5'5", 5'6" guy, but the Cowboys are going to give him a chance.
watching him next to T.J. Vasher, who's 6'6", and just it's just funny. And both of them are skinny. T.J. Vasher is skinny, but this dude here is skinnier than John Bo's fossily.
He's like that.
Oh my God! But the guy has some juice in those legs. He is fast.
Is he? Well, I mean, if you we saw in the offseason, I'm sure everybody saw it, the foot race of the NFL's fastest players that include Tyreek Hill, and Micah Parsons outran him. Maybe. It really didn't look like Tyreek Hill had the foot on the gas in that 40-yard dash. In a foot race, is Micah Parsons the fastest player on this team, in your mind?
Well, again, I think he is outside of Turpin. Right? Turpin has a 4.29 40. Micah Parsons does not run 4.2 in the 40.
It'll be fun to watch. As we look ahead to the start of not just preseason games, which Dak Prescott did not play in any of last season. The Cowboys kept him out just basically as a precautionary measure for his shoulder. I'm assuming, Clarence, he will play at least a little bit in the preseason, or are you shaking his head that he won't?
I know he won't play in the first two. They play Denver and they play the Chargers, and he won't play in the first two. He's going to play in the practices. They have joint practices leading up to the first two preseason games. He will be a part of those practices, but he will not play in the first two preseason games.
Okay.
The third game back home, we'll see, and they're going to weigh that, but he's definitely not playing the first two preseason games.
Good job if you can get it. Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys to have the kind of season they always envision that they're going to have, which will end in February with a Super Bowl, even though it hasn't since 1996, I think. Doing the math is now getting increasingly difficult.
It's the 95 season, but 96 Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, there we go. Clarence, when we look at the NFL quarterbacks, and this is always a fun debate, when we look at NFL quarterbacks, I think there is now a line of guys, like there always is, but there's like a line of guys that starts with Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen now is in that discussion, Joe Burrow's in that discussion, a handful of other ones. Russell Wilson, I'm certainly a big fan of. Justin Herbert is getting close if he's not already there. When I look at Dak Prescott, I don't see him being a part of that fraternity. It's like he's in the one just below it. That's ahead of every other quarterback in the NFC East for sure, and it's ahead of a lot of other guys too. Do you agree with me that if there's a club of the elite tier quarterbacks, he's not quite in that one yet? I don't think he is.
Well, it depends on if it's the top 5 or top 10. And so I have him in the top 10, top 11. I got a group of 11 quarterbacks that I couldn't really cut it off at 10. I got Mahomes.
Go ahead. What are they?
I got Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, Allen, Burrow, Jackson, Wilson, Stafford, Watson, Prescott, and Herbert.
So let me ask you this. Do you think Dak Prescott is better than Lamar Jackson?
That's a tough call, but Lamar Jackson is MVP. He's won MVP.
No, I know. I mean, it was legitimate.
He doesn't have any playoff wins, but he's won MVP. I think Dak has had better receivers around him. Lamar's obviously had a better defense around him. But, that's a good question. But, based on what we've seen on the field, I mean, you have to put Lamar ahead of him right now.
I think that one's pretty close. And the only reason I would say that is because I think Dak as a passer and as a quarterback will age better than Lamar. All these quarterbacks who run as much as Lamar does, I worry about those guys as they get 28, 29, and 30, which is Dak Prescott recently celebrated his 29th birthday. I worry about those guys because I'm like, eventually they're just going to get hurt. It's like a running back. Eventually your legs just go. And I think Dak is a better passer, even though Lamar Jackson is a really good passer. I think Dak is a better passer. So if I had to take the two as they get to 29 and 30, I would take Dak. But the other guys, you mentioned top 10, top 11. Okay, that's top third. That's good enough to win you a Super Bowl. That means he's better than 20 other stiffs running around there making big time quarterback money. He's 29. He's started for 6 years. He's won a lot of games. He's won 53 NFL starts. That's a lot. That's not a coincidence. Is this the best we've seen of him? Is this it? Or is it like those first 6 games that we saw last year where he was killing everybody before he hurt his calf against the Patriots? Is this the ceiling, or do you think there is another area that he can reach?
I think Dak can take a step up. And again, you're talking about here's a guy who's having his first full off season for the first time since 2019. First full off season since Mike McCarthy's been there. Remember, his first year he was in a contract holdout. He was not around. Last year he was rehabbing, from the fractured ankle. He's the knowledge to go with health. He's in the best shape of his life. That grew up as a fat boy. He 7th, 8th grade, he was a big boy. Okay.
Was he fat? Was he fat or just like a big kid?
He would tell you he was a fat boy. Okay. He body fat wise, in shape wise, he's trimmer, in better shape, more agile than he's ever been, even going back to his college days. The baby fat is gone. He's trimmed up. Same weight, trimmed up. I think you're getting ready to see the best of Dak Prescott, and the Cowboys need that because they need him to elevate. See the difference between he's a franchise quarterback, but the elite quarterbacks make players around him better.
Amen.
They make up for deficiencies, and the Cowboys have deficiencies at receiver, so they need him to throw these guys open. They need him to make plays with his feet. They need to. The offensive line is not what it once was. They're paying Dak Prescott $40 million to help make up for deficiencies in other areas.
And I'll be interested. You mentioned Cedric Wilson. Now, obviously, when the Dolphins got Cedric Wilson, who was a nice player in a very limited reserve role, but he was a nice player. And now that the Dolphins got Tyreek Hill, obviously, and they've got the other kid from Alabama, Jalen Waddle, that's going to limit his opportunities. But to me, Cedric Wilson was a guy that I thought that Dak made better than maybe he really was. And we've seen lots of quarterbacks do it. Take an average player and you make him look great because you can put it wherever you want. Tom Brady's made a career out of it. Aaron Rodgers has done a nice job of it. Tony Romo did it famously with Laurent Robinson and some other guys. I'll be interested to see if he can do that because they are going to just stick him with nobody. And if he can do that, and he was doing that the first 6 weeks of the last season before he got hurt, he was doing that. And I thought that's why, wow, this guy's taking a big jump. And then it just kind of went flat and maybe even took a step back. So I think you're right. That's the place where if he's going to be better, that's what he's got to do is take an average guy and make him look good and take a good player and make him look great. Speaking of great, let's go on to our last topic of the day, which is the annual fall rite of training camp, and that is the Ring of Honor debate between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson. We thought that this grudge ended a long time ago and was put to rest last year when Jimmy Johnson went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and made a point of saying, of thanking.
Jerry made a point, yes.
Jimmy made a point during the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction speech for thanking him, for giving him the opportunity, for allowing him to be the head coach of the Cowboys and to go on to do what he did, because he wouldn't have had Jerry not given him that opportunity. And then Jerry, before that speech, or right around the same time, actually, Jerry even admitted he screwed it up in the pre-Dallas Cowboys press conference there in Oxnard in 2021. Well, now it's a year later. The Ring of Honor, he's not in the Ring of Honor yet. He's been honored at AT&T Stadium as joining the Pro Football Hall of Fame last year. It was a great moment between two guys who did a lot for each other. And it seemed like, okay, this is pretty much over. Now, Jerry Jones goes on NBC5 with Newey Scruggs, and Newey asks him about it. We all ask him about it. It's a valid question. It's interesting. Fans like reading about it. And then Jerry uses the word sniveling to describe Jimmy Johnson, which I don't think Jimmy's really sniveling to get in the Ring of Honor. But do you think this is a case of Jerry consciously jabbing Jimmy over this endless spat, or is it just Jerry and just he kind of stuck his foot in his mouth?
I think that it was Jerry was doing the Sunday night shows, and we asked Jerry about the Ring of Honor and Jimmy Johnson to open training camp. He punted, saying he's not ready to make an announcement, whatever else, and I'll make that decision when I want to make that decision. And the Sunday night shows, he does that car wash, and
right.
He goes on and gives all the stations 7-minute season. It was about 7 stations. And I think he was tired of it, and knew he called him petty for not putting him in. First of all, Jerry said, I'm putting him in. I just haven't decided when.
Yeah.
He didn't say he wasn't putting him in. He just hadn't made a decision on when he was putting him in.
No, you're right. Knew he jabbed him with the word petty for sure.
And so Jerry just kind of and Jimmy caught the blowback. But yeah, it was the bottom line is he's going to put him in. And the thing about it, I was trying to tell all the guys that why would Jerry tell you when? Why would he preempt his own announcement? Whenever he does it. It hasn't happened yet, but whenever he does it, he's not going to tell everybody when. He's going to surprise everybody. That's part of his salesmanship.
I think maybe one thing that might make this a little bit more difficult, and in my mind, at least in my recollection of these announcements, is that they're done in Oxnard, and they're done with the player sitting next to Jerry. So that's Darren Woodson, that's anybody, and they usually sit next to Jerry and they talk about it, and it's a nice moment. Jimmy Johnson lives in South Florida, I think in the Florida Keys, and if I'm correct, I think he only goes to Los Angeles once a week for the Fox pregame and postgame telecast. Gets on a plane, flies to LA, does the shoot, does the day's worth of television, gets on a plane and flies back to Miami. I don't see Jimmy Johnson getting on a plane, flying to Oxnard to talk about this. Now, maybe he'll do it via Zoom, but I don't see that one happening.
Yeah,
so maybe
I think that you're putting them in the corner. Not all of the announcements have been in Oxnard.
Have they not? Okay.
No, Gil Brandt wasn't. They did it at the Star. Not all of them are in Oxnard. It doesn't have to necessarily be in Oxnard. And the announcement is not the issue. The issue is the induction. And so as long as Jimmy's in Dallas for the induction, doesn't matter where he is for the initial announcement. If that's the case, we can get him on the phone or whatever else.
Right.
But again, I think that Jerry just wants to do it on Jerry time, and he's not going to be rushed or bullied or sniveled into doing it when we want it done.
You're being petty, Clarence. You're being petty about this.
And to me, it's not just Jimmy. There are a number of guys out there that should go in. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to go in the Hall of Fame this year.
DeMarcus Ware.
I'm sorry, DeMarcus Ware. He's going to Hall of Fame this year. You could easily put DeMarcus Ware in as well.
For sure. Yep.
Real quick, and Everson Walls is up for it. He put Darren Woodson in because he's trying to help him get in the Hall of Fame. Why not put Everson Walls in? He's
Gary Myers, our colleague up in New York who used to work in Dallas and covered the Cowboys for a long time, Gary Myers, who's a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think he might even be a Pro Football Hall of Fame member. I'm not sure. But Gary Myers has really, really been pushing for Everson Walls to get in there. Everson Walls also won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants and Bill Parcells, his last Super Bowl team with the Giants. So you're right. There are a lot of guys there that are worthy. Just real quick, the last question, I'll let you go. Do you think the Cowboys will have a Hall of Fame, a Ring of Honor inductee this fall?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, do me a favor. Enjoy the weather. Let me give you a good piece of advice. It's supposed to be over 100 degrees every day of the week. So tell your daughters you love them, and they're not coming home until mid-September.
Yeah, I wish. I will be back in August, so we will get our shared dose. And I got enough in July, got enough in June. I'll get my shared dose. Believe me.
Yeah, it's coming back. Yeah, right. Just believe me. When you land,
I will sweat.
Yeah, likewise. I'm sweating right now, and it's air conditioned. When you land, it'll be 110 degrees. He is Clarence E. Hill Jr. It says Cali Chill, and I hate him for it. For all of your Dallas Cowboys coverage need, check out all of his fine work on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram columnist Matt Engel for Cowboys Overtime. We'll see you next time.